welcome everyone to today's presentation, Lead the Standard. I'm Mike Richmond, your host for Exemplar Global's online expo focused on career pathways. This session is presented by our old friend, Jackie Stapleton. Jackie is a thought leader and strategic advisor specializing in the development of conformity assessment professionals working with ISO management system standards. As the founder of Auditor Training Online and JackieStapleton.com, Jackie helps auditors bridge the gap between technical expertise and confident application. She focuses on leadership, communication, and influence to empower auditors to thrive in their careers and make a lasting impact. In this presentation, Jackie is going to offer insight into your journey as a quality leader, and training is just the start. And with that, Jackie, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. I love that. Training is just the start. That is spot on. So what I'm going to do first is take you back in time. I'm going to take you back in time when we went for our driver's license. And I know, I'm maybe a little bit older. I might be a bit younger than some of you that are watching and listening at the moment. So our experiences may have been a little bit different, or how the methods that we use might be different. But still, the same intent is there. As you remember, when you get your driver's license, the first thing you do is you have to do like a theory test, the road rules, when to stop at a stop sign, give way signs, all the theory side of it. And it's, for me, it was in a book. I'm sure these days it's online. And you also have mum, dad, grandma, grandpa, big brother, big sister, giving you some advice on what they've learnt and what to do, how to change gears if you remember, driving a manual car. So the challenge is always, after that theory, is putting it into practice. Okay, that's the scary part as well, is putting that theory into practice. And as I've explained, it's much like our going for our driver's license. And I'll compare it to our world in the ISO and quality world shortly. But let's hope your experience of putting theory into practice wasn't like Cher's on Clueless. Let's have a look.
I had an overwhelming sense of ickiness. Even though I apologized to Lucy, something was still plaguing me. Like Josh thinking I was mean was making me postal.
Move into the right lane?
Anyway, why should I care what Josh thinks? Why was I letting it throw me into such turmoil?
Watch out for the bike lane!
Oops, my bad.
What are you doing? You can't take up both lanes. Get in the right lane.
Oh, should I write them a note?
Pull over up here and turn off the engine.
I had an...
Okay, so hopefully that wasn't our experience, but it's a great representation of what practice might look like when we just come from theory. And that's what I'm exploring with you today. Now, as Mike said in my introduction, I'm a co-founder of Auditor Training Online and director. And so I work with a lot of students. We get a lot of students through. And these are some of the real messages I've received from students over the years, okay, that have completed their training. So they say, hey, Jackie, I finished the course. Now what? I don't know what the next step is. Or they go, oh, I've got the certificate, yay, but I'm stuck. I want to do something with it. I just don't know what that looks like. So they've got the certificate. This is a huge one, the whole now what, I've got the certificate, because people think getting the certificate, that's the end of it. Like they've achieved what they need to, that certificate will get them everywhere. Let's explore that shortly. Another one is, do I need more experience before I can start applying for roles? Oh, I hear that all the time. Oh, but I just need some more experience. Yeah, it's too scary to take that first step. I need some more experience. They get stuck in this learning loop. Or they say, is it better to go for an auditor job or start my own consulting? So they get their certificate again, but then it's like, oh, now what? What jobs can I do? Where can I head? Who's going to help me do this? And then finally, am I even qualified enough yet to offer ISO support to businesses? That is another big one. Like, even though they've got their certificate, they've got their competency or qualification, they're still thinking, oh, I just don't feel ready. Am I even qualified enough? This is very similar to the experience one. And both of these types of learners or professionals in our industry they tend to get stuck in what I call a learning loop. So I've pulled this, I suppose it's called a quality leadership journey, and you can replace the word quality with ISO if you want to. So regardless of what industry, which standards you work in, this is still just this ISO. This is a leadership journey, right? You can see down here on the left is I've got my certificate. Now what? Which is what I've sort of described to you on the previous screen slide with the messages that I've received from students. I've got my certificate. Now what? So because so many people think that is just the single answer. It's definitely part of the equation, but it's not the entire story. Okay. So when you're at that point, I call you the explorer. Okay. You're still looking, you're learning, and you've got your certificate, but it's a now what? Then you move into this learner phase, and these two might loop together. So you sort of understand the theory, but you're struggling with that real world application. Okay, so this is where you get stuck in this learner loop, I always say. And through my research, I've seen that 50 to 60% of leaders in general get stuck in this learning loop because it's a big jump. There's some fear holding them back here to move to practitioner. Now, this is a brick wall. I know I'm not very good at depicting that, but that's a brick wall. I sometimes think there's a brick wall here as well that's moving us away from this and really moving into this practitioner role where I've said you can follow the process, but you're still sort of second guessing yourself. What happens in this practitioner stage? And, you know, if you're here, congratulations, because you have climbed this first wall. So you've gotten over that learning loop and that fear, and you've moved to this application side of it. But what happens is when you're in this practitioner area, and why I've got the brick wall here also, is you think that just because, one, I've got my certificate, and two, I'm starting to apply it, why aren't people listening to me? This is what I get a lot. I've got my certificate. Okay, I'm a lead auditor in ISO 9001. I've implemented a system in the business I work in, but nobody's listening to me. Okay, it's like I'm talking to a brick wall. All right, this is the struggle, and this is why it's not just about your qualification. This is where once you climb this brick wall and get people to listen to you and follow you, you're helping them to understand. They're willingly coming along with you for this ride, and they actually, like, they're enjoying it. You've climbed over this brick wall. Okay, you've picked something up other than your knowledge and application as a practitioner, and you've identified some leadership skills that you need to get people to understand why you're there and why it's really fun to follow you in this journey. And then finally, the leadership stage. I've only got about 5% of people at this big picture stage. Now, at this stage, the expert stage, you are influencing, okay? You're influencing the people that you work with within that environment. So well done if you're here. In this leader or the big picture stage, I've got you're leading the standards. You're an influencer above and outside of where you work. Okay, you might have a great following on LinkedIn. You might be a thought leader, writing lots of articles that are getting published and so on. You are influencing that broader industry. Okay, so well done if you're up here as well. But you can see this is the journey that I would like to follow for this presentation, because I think there's 3 things that get us through to expert and leader stage. Okay, and these are the 3 things I want to share with you. The first one is knowledge. Okay, even though I said it's not just about the certificate, it's absolutely the foundation. It's the starting point. You need these qualifications, okay? These qualifications that from recognized training providers under Exemplar Global, ensure that you do those. That's the first stop, okay? That is the first step. As I said, you cannot progress without those qualifications and those competencies, this knowledge. I'd like to call it, this is the foundation. Okay, this is your first step. That's why I called it in that explorer and learner phase in the leadership journey. Okay, that explorer and learner phase is where you get your knowledge. Now, as I said, knowledge isn't everything. Okay. In fact, I'm going to share a story about a trainer I worked with several years ago, and this was in the classroom more so. And we were working together. Okay, he was a reasonably new trainer. I was working with him and guiding him through. He had great knowledge. Okay, he'd gone through this first step. But the issue was when he shared this with our students, he must have had like a photographic memory, because all he did was repeat what the standards or the clauses in the standards say. He'd just say it verbatim. I was like, whoa, I was really impressed. But all he did was say the words. That means nothing. Okay. And I could see it was meaning nothing because I was facing the students in the room, and I could see them sitting there going, I don't know what he's talking about. There's lots of words. I can see that this is in the standard, but I still don't understand this. So that's why there is an extra step. This knowledge is amazing, but we can't learn without applied knowledge, okay, and stories, because stories help people to learn, especially if we're sharing, okay? So don't think that I'm knocking knowledge. It's absolutely important, but it's just one part of it. It's sort of like, someone reading a book on how to swim, but they don't know how to swim themselves. And they're either going to jump in the pool and give it a go and sink to the bottom, or they're trying to teach someone to swim based on some theory. That's what I'm getting at. This is theory. It's much like riding a bike as well. Okay, there's a lot of tacit knowledge involved that is difficult to portray in theory. So we can't read books and then instantly hop on a bike or jump in a swimming pool. Okay, it's the same process. In fact, despite 96% of university leaders believing students are ready, so they've done the theory, only 11% of business leaders agree. So there's a little bit of a gap there, isn't there? Okay. And I don't want to focus on the gap. I want to focus on, well, knowledge is absolutely important as the foundation, but there's more. Okay. And that's what we're going to explore. Sir Francis Bacon. Okay. We all need a bit of bacon in our lives, obviously. So here it is. And you all would have heard this this quote from Sir Francis Bacon: knowledge is power. I absolutely agree. Remember, I said knowledge is the foundation. It's the first step. So when we have knowledge as our foundation, as our first step, we're able to take the next step. We can't do that without knowledge. So thank you, Francis. Now, just a quick reflection before we move to what I think is a second part we need to move ourselves along that leadership journey. So just have a think where you're at in your knowledge journey, or the part of your knowledge journey. Are you still at that explorer stage? Are you getting stuck in a learner loop? Are you fearful or too scared to take that first step and start applying it? Okay, I know I work with students that keep saying to me, oh, I just need to do one more course. I need to do this course, then I'll be right. And then they do it, and then they say, oh no, I need to do this one as well. Okay, sometimes I get caught in that loop as well. I completely understand. Or have you moved from that explorer part and you're in that learning phase and you're grabbing it by both hands, and then the next stage is you're realizing, okay, I've got it. I've got it. I'm ready to take that next step and apply it. Okay, so moving along this knowledge part, explorer and learner in our leadership journey. The second area, I think, that helps us to move through our leadership journey in our industry is, of course, application. Okay, we've got the knowledge. Remember, that's the foundation. Now we need to apply what we've learned. This is normally the scary part. Okay, this is the scary part because you feel like you're on show to the world. And this is Michelle. Michelle is a student of ours at Auditor Training Online. She has her Exemplar Global certificates for Lead Auditor, IMS, so Quality, Environment, and OH&S. She completed these earlier this year. So she got her knowledge. Now, this is Michelle on an audit with me. So I was conducting a triple certification audit, and she came along as an observer. This was her first step in application. Was she scared and frightened and nervous and anxious? Absolutely. Okay. She even messaged me the day before asking, what do I wear? It's all these little things that you don't think of. What do I wear? You know, there's so much to think of where you're stepping into this new world. Okay. But Michelle was really brave and she took that step. Now, this was, I think, a 3-day audit. So she was there as an observer. So that's like, no talking, no asking questions. But I found her really refreshing during our time together in between my audit interviews. And I could see she was really getting it and understanding the process I was following. And she was actually even understanding the responses and why they were conforming or not conforming. And she's taking lots of notes, which is great. I love note taking as well. So I thought, you know what? I think Michelle can actually help me here without conducting or being a part of the audit, obviously. So I asked her, did you want to start putting the audit report together? Okay, based on, because she was there with the questions I was asking. So she knew the responses. She was taking her own notes so she'd understand my notes. So the first night we went home, like it was pretty good for me. I didn't have any report writing to catch up on. I just left it with her. She did an amazing job. Okay, so she was given this opportunity to observe, take that step into application. Okay, and she took it with both hands. Okay, she stepped over that fear barrier. And on top of that, it was only a couple of weeks ago, we actually had Michelle conduct our internal audit here at Auditor Training Online, because, you know, that's a big job for myself and our operations manager. And we thought, let's outsource it. she had the skills and the personality. So, she conducted our internal audit here as well. So it's just a great example of someone taking that big, brave step. I sort of think it's like joining a new gym. It's funny because I've actually just done that in the last few weeks. I've moved to no laughing and over 50s gym where I feel far more comfortable in the presence of the other people there. And I've joined, different gyms over the years, and I always know what goes through my head. You walk in for the first time and you think, have I got everything? What's the etiquette here? Do I need a towel? Do I need to wipe stuff down? Or I'm going to walk in and everyone's going to be looking at me. They're going to know I'm new. And how do I move this bench up and move this weight down? It's, everyone's got eyes on me. That's what I feel. So my technique, or my tactic maybe, is I hop on the treadmills. And that gives me an opportunity to walk on the treadmill and I take a look around. I'm observing. So remember, I'm taking that step from theory into application. So my first step is just to observe, see what people are doing. They take that in. Oh, that's how you move that. Oh, that's where the wipes are. Okay, I need a towel on there. That's how that works. So once I'm comfortable with that and I've mapped the gym out, I then have in my head, okay, this is what I'm doing. I can see what other people have done. And then I just follow. Okay, so you do need other people to support you and take you through this application stage. Okay, and within weeks, of course, you're walking into the gym, you're high-fiving people, and you're the one that notices the new person coming in. All right, it's much the same. This is a stat I found about retention of knowledge. Okay, so learners using applied learning, remember, 25 to 60% more than those just being lectured to, that have just gone through the theory, right? So if we don't apply what we learn, and if we go back to what Michelle did, so she was one of our students, if she'd just done our lead auditor IMS course and that was it, she was too scared to take it any further, then she would not retain what she's learned. She would only retain 8 to 10%. But because she stepped into the ring and started applying what she learned and could see what it meant in the real world, she will retain up to 60% of what she's learned. So it's really important to take that application step along with your learning. Now, I found this interesting. Remember Sir Francis Bacon earlier on? He said knowledge is power. And I agree. We agree. Knowledge is power. It's the foundation. But E.T., Eric Thomas, he's a hip hop preacher. He's based in, I can't remember, somewhere in the US. Okay. So the town has slipped my memory for now, but he's known as a hip hop preacher, obviously because he's into hip hop, and he's like a motivational speaker. All right. E.T. said, knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. And I thought, whoa, that is so true. So we can say knowledge is power. Let's agree with Sir Francis Bacon at that point. But when we start applying our knowledge, it becomes so much more powerful. It being our knowledge. Okay, it's still that knowledge as that foundation, but that applied knowledge is even more powerful. So when you think of your application stage that you're at, Are you still hiding over here, stuck in a learning loop, too scared to take that first step? And that first step being sort of like Michelle, going, okay, oh, I need to do this. I know it's scary. I'm going to force myself. So it's like Michelle, or going to a new gym as well. Or are you through that scary part and you're applying and learning? Okay, you agree that applied knowledge is power. Okay, just have a think about where you're at in that stage, because that will help you move forward as well. Now, the third and final area, I think, helps us to move through that leadership journey in our world of ISO or quality, is soft skills. This is so very powerful. Okay, so let's explore that. First, I have a story. At Atoll, Auditor Training Online, we have an amazing operations manager, Kelly. And Kelly's been with us for 10 years. So Kelly started doing customer service for me. She was our first employee. She helped take over customer service. And she's worked her way through many different jobs over these 10 years. But about 18 months ago, I gave her the position of our business operations manager, because she knows how everything hangs together. She knows the platforms, the tools, the resources we use. She knows everything from start to finish. So she was a perfect candidate for an operations manager to take some load off myself and remove some operations tasks that I was still doing, including management of staff. Right? So about 18 months ago, we started the process of transitioning some of my operations tasks over to Kelly. Okay, it was going great. She's very competent. And anyway, I thought it was going great. So I think about 6 months had passed. And my time was being freed up. It was great. Didn't have to manage any staff. Fantastic. And one day I received this massive long Slack message. So we use Slack to communicate, message each other, from a staff member. And they said, oh, honestly, I've had enough. I'm not getting any support. Kelly just assumes I know what I'm doing, and I don't. I need some guidance. If I don't get it soon, I feel like I'm on my own. I'm going to have to resign. Like, it was much longer than that in detail. I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. Thought, okay. And at the time I received it, it was day one of I was delivering some virtual training. So my day is packed and my focus has to be with the students. So I said, oh, look, can I get back to you later in the week once I'm finished with the training? She knew that, so she was fine. But then what happened in between that time, Kelly also came to me and goes, oh, I'm so frustrated. Nobody's listening to me. All they do is ask me questions constantly. So I'm so sick of it. Why don't they just do things on their own? Why do they need me all the time? And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So what I had failed to acknowledge, what I had failed to pass on and even recognize in this transition were some basic leadership skills. Okay, I just assumed it was known knowledge how to communicate with a team. Okay, ask questions rather than tell. All these soft skills, essentially. Looking at people's body language, reading into how they're communicating, sitting back and giving them space, not micromanaging or telling them how to fix it, or even worse, doing it out of frustration. So it was a huge eye-opener to me and to Kelly, and we both had a great conversation. And luckily she's very open to feedback. And we both acknowledged that was the gap, these soft skills, these leadership skills. I just thought it was stuff that I was passing on, knowledge. This is how you do this. I completely missed the point of soft skills. So it is huge in the success of becoming a leader in our industry. Okay, is how we communicate. Remember, in the leadership journey, I had you as an expert because you were influencing. This is where we need to get you, okay, to influencing. People want to come along with you for the ride. So soft skills, it's not just me saying this. Soft skills are the most sought after qualities in hiring for management, operations, and engineering roles. So you can see employers value soft skills for management. So 91%. It goes to 81% for engineering. These stats, this data, obviously also said this technical skills are of value, but I thought it was interesting how high for these particular roles, management, operations, and engineering, how high the percentage was for employers that value soft skills for those roles. It's not just about technical stuff, which if we go technical, that's knowledge. Okay, for us as people working in the ISO industry, technical is our understanding of the standards. Okay, next step is how they apply, and the next step is how we communicate that and take people along on the journey. Dale Carnegie, we all know him, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm sure everyone's read it over the years. I thought this was interesting. And it's in line with this topic. He said, when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. And I thought that was really hit home with the type of work that we do, because we are logical people. Like, we love our criteria, okay, our requirements. We always go back to, well, this is the facts. So as Dale said, we're not dealing with creatures of logic, even though that might be how we're wired, but we're dealing with creatures of emotion, and that's where our soft skills come in. Now, I'd love you to watch this video, and then I'll explain to you what it's about. When you watch this, I just want you to follow the ball, please.
Good looks. We talked early on about James being a scorer and also making plays, and we're seeing quite a bit of that to start this ball game. Allen, good defense to force Parker the other way. Leonard will try a three.
Okay. Why am I showing you a basketball moves? Okay. Because my son Isaac is a basketball. He's crazy about basketball. He works in a basketball sports store. So he lives and breathes it. He showed me this video while I was pulling this content together. I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. But what was more interesting is what he said. So bear with me. I'm going to read. I had to record what he said because I didn't understand what he was talking about. But I recorded what he said so I could share with you. Okay, this is what he said. Mom, come on, you've got to check this out. This is why San Antonio Spurs are so good. Their ball movement is insane. Look, everyone gets a touch. They're passing up good shots, ones they could have taken easily just to get someone else a great shot. They're not playing on their own. Get this, he said. They're working the system. And when you're up against tougher teams that know how to stop a good shot, That's when you need the great ones. You don't beat the tougher teams by going just for the average good shots. You beat them by being unselfish, by working together, and by setting up the best possible play every time. Okay, the key takeaways for me when he was blabbing that out were good shots, great shots, working the system. Okay, I'm going to play this again, and this time you just watch and count how many times they could have taken the good shots, and then finally they took the great shot, the three-pointer.
Good looks. We talked early on about James being a scorer and also making plays, and we're seeing quite a bit of that to start this ball game.
Allen, good defense to force Parker the other way. Leonard will try a three.
Yes. Okay. So I think I counted 4 good shots. Could have maybe been one more before the great shot. And so the reason I'm sharing this is that I thought that soft skills, they actually move you from good to great. Soft skills move you from taking the good shots to taking the great shots.
Good looks. Good looks.
Yeah. So I want you to have a think about where you are at in your soft skills journey, just to finish this up. Okay, where are you at in your soft skills journey? So are you at that frustrating stage in your career where you've got your knowledge, you've got your certificate, you've applied it, you've built a system, but everyone thinks it's a joke? They're not listening to you and you're frustrated. Why aren't these people listening to me? Like, that's the first step, becoming aware. Okay, that there's something more that we need here. There's something more I need to do to get people along on this journey. Okay, and possibly if you have, been enlightened or become aware, like Kelly, okay, we had this huge discovery. You may have moved then to go, okay, I've recognized this and my approach may not have been the best. I've recognized, I'm aware now, and you're starting to implement different ways of communicating, okay, engaging people, start to bring them along for the journey. And it's not a quick fix. I don't want you to think it's a quick fix. Okay, you yourself have to move through this awareness to change, and then the people you work with have to recognize that and see it as something that's going to continue. Or you could be all over this stuff and you're up on this side, you're influencing. People are just following you. They love what you do. You communicate really well, and you're starting to share your knowledge and leadership with other people. So well done if you're there. Now, I'm going to share some things with you to finish up. You can scan that QR code. I've got 5 things, I think, to share with you. You can book in a learning strategy meeting. So these all sort of tie with the 3 areas: knowledge, application, and soft skills. So you can book in a learning strategy meeting with us to understand where you are in your learning journey. Okay, do you actually need any more certificates or qualifications? Are there any gaps? And the team at Atoll can help you with that. You can get early access to my Lead the Standard book that's coming out in November, which talks about this subject in much more detail. If you've gotten something out of this, you'll get more out of the book that's coming out in a couple of months. There's also a little Lead the Standard quiz that you can do to find out where you are on that leadership journey, whether you're an explorer, learner, practitioner, expert, or a leader. And then you'll know, okay, what's the next step that I need to take? Feel a bit more supported there. An audit checklist. I know that's a bit of a random one, but it's the most downloaded form on our website. So people love it. So I just thought I'd share it with you all as well. And then finally, there's a link to a podcast I did actually with my business coach, where I talked about Lead the Standard, and I break it down a little bit more just for something a little bit different. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to offer, any questions that you have around your leadership journey. Please, send me a message. I'd love to have a chat. I'd love talking about this stuff. And I'm going to finish you with, of course, we have to finish this with Deming. Yeah. And Deming said, a bad system will beat a good person every time. And then I've sort of added, but a good system is built by good people together. Okay? And that's where we're heading with Lead the Standard. Thank you.
Well, that was a great job, Jackie, ending on Deming. What better place to end? And I liked your addendum to his famous quote there.
You.
That's nice. Thank you for that, Jackie. Really great session on the importance of leadership for those on their career journeys within conformity assessment. I think that was a really interesting addition to our expo. So thank you for doing that. Thank you all for watching. Of course, be sure to claim your CPD for this session. We always ask you to do that to prove your dedication to continuous improvement in your career pathway. If you have questions, you can write us there at info@exemplarglobal.org. We'll get your questions right over to Jackie. If you have any questions for her about her presentation or about anything here at the Expo, just write us at info@exemplarglobal.org. So thanks again for being there, and we'll see you next time at the next session here at Exemplar Global's Online Expo. So long.